it up the ground. Dribble handoff to Shelton. Pulls at the free throw line with a jump shot. Got it.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Episode 6, The Will Shelton Show. I'm your host, Will Shelton. As you can see, I don't really have any notes in my hand as I usually do in past episodes. This episode is starting off the 3-episode series of pretty much my appreciation and acknowledgement for my inner circle, which is my wife, my mom, my dad. Pretty much expressing my appreciation to them in one of the best ways I know how. And obviously, off camera and behind closed doors, I try my best to express my appreciation to them, whether it be phone calls with them or conversations with my wife and things of that nature. But I just kind of want to express it publicly. Everybody needs their roses while they can still smell them. And in my life, there's no 3 other people that deserve it more than these 3. But as you can see, we're starting off with my beautiful mother up there. I was gonna start with my wife, but it's gonna take some convincing to get her to show her face on the show. So we're still working on her. But no, man, my mother, Lakeisha Hobson, man, to say this woman is strong, wise, man, the amount of words I could use, none of them really do her justice. I'd say probably outside of all that, the most accurate word I could use to describe my mother is probably misunderstood. If you know my mother, she is a shoot it straight woman. She doesn't sugarcoat anything. That's just not how she's ever been. And that's pretty much, that's why I've become the man I've become, and my brother's become the man he's become, and my little sister will eventually become the woman that she becomes. But no, man, it's the misunderstood part is, if you talk to my mom long enough, you'll quickly see that she's really soft on the inside. She speaks hard. She has this rough exterior, like, she's mean, blah blah blah. But she's the biggest softie I know, man. She'll yell at me, or not anymore. She doesn't yell at me anymore. I'm a grown ass man, but she used to. She would yell at me, and I've quickly figured this out. Probably around my early teenage years, that she's gonna yell, but the yelling really doesn't mean anything. if you let her get it out, as long as you don't yell back, if you just let her yell and get it out, probably within the next couple hours she'll come to you with an apology and trying to pretty much get you make it up to you and win you back, blah blah blah. With for me, asking me, do I want hamburger helper, or what kind of cereal do I want, or something like that. But man, my mother, now today in this episode, I will be telling a couple graphic stories. So and she's gonna kill me for a couple of them, but oh well, we're here. She's 5 hours away. What can she really do? But no, some of them will include episodes of domestic violence. Some of them include descriptions of her post-surgery, etc. So if that kind of stuff, if that kind of stuff affects you negatively, I will kind of give a warning again before I actually get into the story. But I will be kind of getting into a little stuff like that. But that's later on. Starting off, man, this woman, from the beginning, at least from the beginning of my consciousness, it's been in the household, me, her, and my brother. Don't get me wrong, both of our fathers were in our lives very heavily, very prevalent in our lives. We just lived with our mother. But we wasn't rich. We didn't grow up with we didn't grow up with all the money in the world. I mean, knowing what I know now, we probably wasn't even middle class at the time. But with that being said, this woman still found a way to make it work, and not only make it work, to make it not feel like we did have everything we needed. Again, with the help of our fathers did their part. But on a daily basis, man, my mom went out of her way, and I know a lot of people will say, you know, well, she's your mom, she's supposed to do that. Damn it, I don't care, man. My mom has, and I can say this confidently, probably damn near given her life on a couple of occasions because of her health conditions. Damn near working herself to death just to make sure that not only we had what we needed, but to even have what we wanted on a lot of occasions. You know, she made sure that Christmas was we always had a good Christmas. We always woke up to a good Christmas. You know, and then sometimes we might not have had a tree, not just out of being poor or anything, but you know, that just wasn't, it was a house with a single mother and two boys. So we don't really care about Christmas trees too much. Man, but I take that back. We always had a tree, but it may not have been lit up. It might not have ornaments everywhere, but we always had some kind of tree. And there would always end up being presents under that tree. We always had stuff we could open. We always got to have that experience. I'll never forget, man, when she even got one of my uncles to dress up like Santa Claus in the middle of the night and run up and down the street. And I don't remember because I was very young at the time, but I think he was getting chased I think the reason he was running, he was getting chased by dogs up and down the street. But she got that together and had him dress up as Santa Claus with a bag of gifts and run up and down the street. And she woke us up like, you know, look out the window, Santa's out there. Like, and I think my brother was too old to believe at the time, but I still believed in Santa Claus. So that was, you know, that meant the world to me. And especially looking back at it now, just to, you know, have those experiences. And then I can't remember if this was the same Christmas or not, but man, we woke up to these stockings were probably 4 feet like long, probably 2 feet wide, filled to the brim with presents. And then the under the Christmas tree was filled with presents. And it was, you know, Nintendo 64, all the games, you know, board games, clothes, etc. Like everything we could ask for. Now, I don't know how she did it, but I'm assuming she worked her ass off for it. And, you know, looking back at it now and going through the real world and knowing how hard that you have to work just to make a living today, for her to do that. And I've, you know, up until recently, I've only had to take care of myself. So I can only imagine having to take care of myself plus 2 kids, 2 growing boys that eat everything in sight. I grew like a weed. My brother didn't grow so much, but he was still a big kid. So he needed clothes every now and then. And, you know, I was getting to the point to where I couldn't wear his clothes because I grew. Like we were different sizes. I was tall and skinny and he was short and round. So we couldn't necessarily wear the same stuff. So, you know, she had to work and go get what we needed. But, you know, those Christmas things, like that stuff sticks in my mind. Even, you know, she, not just on Christmas days, but like just throughout the year, you know, she would randomly, you know, hey, do y'all want to go to the movies? And going to the movies with 2 kids, that now you end up, okay, we're getting candy, we're getting popcorn, we're getting drinks. Y'all know the movies ain't cheap. So now you're spending $40, $50 that we may not have at the time, but she worked her ass off and went and either got it before or after. Man, and I appreciate all these things now because, like I said, you know, living through the real world stuff, looking back at it, you get a whole new appreciation for it. And I've told her, I expressed to her my appreciation to her, but you know, like I said, giving flowers, and sometimes you just gotta brag on the people that you love. Fast forward a couple years. all the work that she put in ended up paying off, at least in her career. So she's been a hairstylist for as long as I can remember. I still remember going to her cosmetology. I guess it was a graduation day. I don't know if that's what they have, but I remember her getting her license and they called her name. And the pride that me and my brother sat there with as we clapped and she walked up there and got her diploma, and you could tell she kind of had tears in her eyes because she doesn't have a college degree. She couldn't finish due to her health, but that was like, you could tell she worked hard for it. And then to have me and my brother right there in attendance, clapping for her, and actually being good and sitting still with smiles on our faces. I could tell that was a big moment of pride for her. But fast forwarding, she worked, and I won't say the company name, but she worked her way up the ranks, ended up getting, I guess it was like some kind of district manager job, I guess. I don't know what it was, but she got a job in Memphis. So it was probably about 2 hours away from our hometown. So she had a decision to make, she couldn't necessarily take me and my brother with her because where were we gonna go? Excuse me, where were we gonna go? So, and this is where, the having a circle around you is important. She had to make the tough decision of leaving us in Savannah. And not like we didn't see her at all. Like, she would come back every weekend, but she left us in Savannah with my Aunt Tonice, who I consider to be like another mother. And so shout out to her, but also shout out to my Uncle Damien as well. He's like a father figure to me as well. He's my godfather, but she, at the time they weren't married. So my Aunt Tonice was a single mother at the time as well. And she had 3 kids of her own. So now it's my aunt with 5 kids, obviously my mom sending money, etc., to help out. But now it's, my aunt goes from 3 to 5, and now me and my brother kind of have to grow up because we were both older than all 3 of the kids she had. One of which being autistic. So that was we kind of had to step up, and we couldn't just be those immature little kids anymore. Now, don't get me wrong, we still were at times, but we had to help with her kids and et cetera, because she did have 2, one of them was a year younger. The autistic child, Marcus, was a year younger than me. And the other 2, I believe Bryce just graduated last year, so he's about 7 years younger than me. And Ashton is a sophomore in high school, I believe. Or no, Ashton's about to be a senior, I believe. So she was about 8-9 years younger than me. So, we kind of had to grow up and become big brothers. My brother was already a big brother, but we were so close in age and we came up together. So I wasn't gonna listen to him, and he wasn't really gonna try to make me listen. So we just we were like partners in crime, but we both had to grow up when we moved. But my mom, that I know that hurt her, especially because I didn't understand at the time, and I really didn't understand it until I became grown and understood the decision she had to make. And I gave her hell about that decision for a long time. But I didn't understand that decision. And I ended up, like I said, I gave her hell about it. And I know that hurt her even more because I expressed my dislike with the decision she made because, I had never been apart from my mom for longer than, maybe a summer at a time. I would go stay with my dad. That was the longest I would be apart from her. So 2 months? Now I'm seeing my mom from Friday night / Saturday morning to Monday morning when she would go back to Memphis and end up, having to go do her job. But that was one of the tough decisions she had to make for her, but in extension for me and my brother, so that she could still give us the things that we needed, give us a better life, etc. And fast forward a couple more years, it began to get extremely hard on all 3 of us, as well as probably my aunt. I never talked to her about it, but it probably got hard on her, being a single mother with 5 kids. And as we're getting older, it's harder to take care of all of us. I'm in sports, my brother's in sports. The kids are in daycare, on top of having an autistic child who he doesn't speak. So that was, that was a challenge all in itself. Adding 4 other kids on top of that and their need, it had to lead to a shitload of stress. So my mom made the decision to move me and my brother up to Memphis with her, and my brother ended up, me and him ended up separating for the first time. He went to go live with his dad, who lived in Memphis, so he wasn't, far away. And then me, I lived with my mom. We were in a good apartment. I went to, and I would say this, the school I went to was Kirby Middle School. Shout out Kirby Middle School. That's where I met one of my best friends, one of my brothers to this day, Kobe. But so it was a blessing that I went there. But I don't think my mom knew the school wasn't that great, which, no fault of hers, and ended up making me tougher. But it was a horrible school. So, but no, it again, made me tougher, no fault of hers, and came out with a brother and a very good friend with Kobe, and then as well as another good friend in Telvin Rucker. But no, and I learned a lot of lessons from Memphis. So Memphis, kind of gave me a little bit of the grit that I have as a man today. But, I would see my mom leave the house at probably 5 in the morning, maybe 6, because again, she was something like a district manager, so she would have to drive all around the area. I'm guessing within the surrounding hour and a half to 2 hours radius around the city. And so, she had to, do her job. So we lived right around the corner from the school. I would walk to school, walk home. I had a house key. I would, take care of myself throughout that time, and then walk back to school for basketball practice, and then walk back home. Which, again, no, it's not like I was being abused or neglected or anything like that. I had everything I needed. It was just different, and it was a hard decision for my mom to make. But at the end of the day, I did get to see her every night when I came home. Or when she came home, whoever got home first. And then, my mom got to see the world, or at least some of the world. She got to visit San Francisco. She got to visit China. I think she went to the Bahamas one time. I think her job afforded her to go there, see some stuff. And I was more than happy for her to go live. And because she had us young, I believe she had me when she was 23. With 23, 24, somewhere in there, which means she had my brother around 21, 22. So she had us so young, she never really got to see anything. So I was happy she got to go see the world and live a little bit. Unfortunately, her health started declining again, which I say that her health, I don't know exactly her condition. I just know her kidneys were horrible. She's had a couple transplants, as well as a bunch of other side effects stemming from that. But even through all that, I tell her all the time, or she told me that when I was very young, that when I was born, I almost killed her. So every time she would talk about having another kid, I'd be like, all right, now I almost took you out. This one gonna finish the job. I wouldn't go on having another kid, but. She fought through all those conditions, and but eventually it became a lot, so we had to move back to Savannah, and so we left Memphis after I was there for 9 months. She had obviously been there for probably 3 years at the time, so she left from when I was in 4th, so about 3 years, and come back, and her health again started declining. She needed transplants, man. She was on dialysis. She did at-home dialysis. I don't know the correct term for it, but I know that me and my brother used to have to help her every night with her at-home dialysis. And then it got to a point where she did dialysis, I think it was like 2-3 times a week. And again, I can't speak for my brother, but I didn't understand the sacrifices she was making at the time. It was I was in school when she would go get the dialysis. So she would, by the time I got out, she had already finished up dialysis and went straight to work. Like I don't think, if you've never either had dialysis or been around somebody that went through that process, I don't think you can understand how draining it may be, how much pain you have to go through for that. So she would have to go through that, and then still she would go to work afterwards, and then pick me and my brother up from practice, or pick my brother up from work, take him to work, whatever the case was. But she did all that, and don't get me wrong, she sometimes it would show in maybe her expression on her face, or you could see how tired she was. But she still always made everything work. If again, I don't want to discredit me and my brother's father. Again, I obviously don't know all the specifics, but my mom would end up making it work. And I've always, especially again since I've been an adult, I appreciate the just the grit that it took for her to get up and make it through a single day, and then continue to do that over and over and over again. And kind of rewinding, and this is kind of where the domestic violence thing comes in. So if you have any issues with that, I would recommend fast forwarding through. But man, I'll never forget. It was just me and my mom at the time. I think my brother was with his dad, but my mom had a boyfriend in Memphis, and I won't say his name, but I remember his full name. I remember what he looked like. I remember his tattoos. I remember everything about him. I remember where he lived. I remember what he did. I remember everything. He was a firefighter. I remember everything. Man, I never really was a fan of him, but he never treated me bad. We didn't have a great relationship, but I mean, I think it was just because I was a mama's boy, and I didn't want my mom's attention to go into anybody else. But I'll never forget, I knew they were arguing, but excuse me, I knew they were arguing, but man, I was just in the living room watching TV. They were in the back, and I could hear the arguing. And again, she's gonna kill me, but I don't care. This is, praising her. This is no slight at all to my mom. This is praising her for the mother that she is. They come storming out of the room in the middle of the argument. By this time, not because they argued so much or not anything, but I had learned, like, if my mom was on the phone or something like that, I'd learned, pretty much I'm not gonna take my eyes off the TV. I'm gonna keep watching TV until there is no more. Like, I'm just gonna act like I'm the only person in the house if anything's happening. So that's what I did. I did what I always do, whether she was on the phone or whether she was, whatever the case may have been. I would always just mind my business. So that's exactly what I did. And at the time, I was probably 5th grade, so I was 11-ish. And this dude was probably my size now. He might have been a little bit bigger. But man, they came out of the back, and he had her arm. And so I could never, obviously I saw it, and I'm only 11 at the time, and I wanted to do something, I wanted to say something. But again, my motto was always just mind your business. So I kept watching TV, and they were yelling and yelling and yelling. And I remember hearing a crash in the kitchen, and to this day, I don't know what it was. I don't know if he threw a dish or something like that, but my mom ended up telling me to get my stuff together. So I did what I was told. I got my little toys together. I got my bag together, and I'm ready to go. I'm just waiting on her instruction. So he said something along the lines of, you're not going anywhere, and he some kind of way ends up keeping us in the house. I don't know how he did it, but he locked us in the house. Or apartment, I should say. So he had 2 cars at the time, a truck and a Mustang. I'll never forget his Mustang, but drives, blocks in my mom's car, and then takes his Mustang. He blocked in my mom's car with his truck, and then took his Mustang, and I remember hearing it, and he skirted off. And my mom was like, crying at the time, apologizing to me, and I'm just sitting there hugging her, not knowing what's going on, just hugging her, and I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. I just said, we're gonna be all right, or something like that. But other than that, I didn't really have anything to say. She just kept apologizing, kept crying, and finally, I'll never forget, he comes back, and by that time, my mom had tried to call the police. So when he walks in, the phone's in my mom's hand, and he pretty much charges her. And my mom just told me she just told me to go to the car. So I go to the car, but the car's locked. And so I sit there for about 30, 40 seconds, and all of a sudden, my mom comes running out of the house with the phone, running full speed. And it's horrible to laugh at now, and I think we ended up laughing about it that night. But the absolute first thought was not, is my mom okay? Not, what's going on? It was, damn, I didn't know my mom was as fast, because she was running, like my mom was in a full sprint, but comes running out of the house, and man, she runs past me, he runs past me, and I dropped everything and started running after them. And all I could remember hearing is him saying, come here, bitch, and he just kept saying it, but my mom was just like, leave me alone, blah, blah, blah. So I caught up, I get past him, I catch up to my mom, and she didn't realize I ran after him. So as soon as she sees me, she stops, because she, I don't know why she stopped, I never asked, but she stops. She still has the phone in her hand, and she tries to throw it. I guess it was the house phone that was in her boyfriend's house. She tries to throw it, and I guess, I don't know if it was to distract him, or for him to be more worried about that than he was us, but it didn't work. He grabs her arm again, and I'm trying to hit him. I'm 11 years old, I don't know what to do in this situation, but I hit him, and it's I just kept hitting him in the stomach. And he's a big dude. He's bigger than I was. Bigger then. He was bigger than I am right now. And man, he pretty much moves me out the way, and I get back in front of him, hitting him. Let my mama go. And she, pulls me to the side. He still has her arm. With her other arm, she pulls me beside her, so she's in the middle. She pulls my chin up. I look at her, tears. I've never seen my mom cry this much. And she's like, it's gonna be okay, baby. We're gonna be okay. And it calmed me. So I was holding her hand while he's holding her arm, dragging her back in his house. And this whole time, the reason I tell this story is because this whole time, my mother handled this situation better than I believe I could ever imagine that thing being handled to have. This man was probably about 6'3". He had to have been 290 pounds. A big, muscled up dude. Again, a firefighter, so he was a strong guy. And seeing her handle that, probably being scared for her life, not knowing what's going to happen to her, and then me as well, having her child, her youngest son, with her, not knowing what to do or how to handle it, and the strength that she showed, while still, the main thing she was worried about was me, making sure that I was okay. Eventually, the police got there, we were able to leave, so we went and stayed. The job she had allowed for her to stay at Hampton Inn, anytime pretty much. I believe she either got a free room or discounted room, whatever the case may have been. But we ended up staying at a Hampton Inn, and we had 2 beds. And I just remember we got to the room, and we were in the car, we were in the car leaving the apartment, and we were quiet for about 5-10 minutes. And she asked, "Are you hungry?" And I said, "No, I had spaghetti before we left." And she said, "Was it good?" I said, "No, not really." And she hits me in my arm. She said, I made that spaghetti." And we started laughing. And the rest of the night was fun. It was probably the best night up to that point, I believe me and her had ever had, just me and her, because obviously, again, me and my brother we were all together all the time. But the best night up to that point that me and her had ever had, and I remember getting to the room, jumping on the beds and stuff like that, and me being excited because I always loved the breakfast. So like I said earlier in the video, she would come back every weekend. Well, sometimes she would take us back to Memphis with her. So we would always stay at the Hampton Inn, and I would always get excited about the breakfast because I loved using the waffle maker. So I remember being so excited about getting up the next morning, using the waffle maker, etc. And we slept, like we ended up, again, we had 2 beds, and I was a mama's boy. And, quiet as it kept, I'm still a mama's boy, but she ended up, cuddling up on the bed, and, holding me as her child. And we watched a movie. I ended up falling asleep. I woke up middle of the night, went to go use the bathroom, and I just remember looking at her, and, I didn't realize when I had gotten up to use the bathroom, she was already awake. And I just remember seeing her wiping tears away, trying to, I guess, mask that she was crying. And I pretended like I didn't see it, because my mom has, again, always been a very strong-minded individual. So I guess at that time I didn't want her to feel embarrassed for crying or whatever the case may have been. So I let her have that moment to herself, and I got back in my own bed, and I turned over and went to sleep. Next morning was just business as usual. We went and got to eat the breakfast, etc. But again, I told that story to exhibit this woman didn't care, and I believe this to this day. I don't think she cared what happened to her. I really don't. I think she was more worried about, is her baby gonna be okay? That, I never even told that story out loud, but that was the moment where I think I actually understood how strong of a woman my mom was, and and still is to this day. It really gave me a solid view of who she is, and it gave me a whole new respect for her at 11 years old. So our relationship kind of grew at that point. So fast forward a couple years, we're back in Savannah, and she still has her health issues. So even as I'm going through school, my brother's going through school, we still have sports and stuff like that. My brother had basketball and track. I had basketball and football. My mom's at pretty much every game, every track meet. And that's from middle school on. So me and my brother were 2 grades apart. So, if I had a basketball game, she was there. If we had a football game together, she was there. When I was in middle school, he was in high school, he would have football games, because towards the end of football season, basketball starts to intersect sometimes. He might have a football game and I might have a basketball game on the same night. So, whichever one ends first, she's going there, and then she's coming to the next, and we're all riding home together talking about it. But, and again, that was with the help of a couple of people, because sometimes she might not be able to make it to pick us up from practice or make it to a game because she was working all the time. But she still made sure to make time for myself and my brother. And I'll never forget this. It was two more stories about high school. So it was my senior year. I broke my foot. I broke my right foot my senior year, and it kept me out of a few games. So I wasn't supposed to play, but I go to the doctor. We were playing our biggest rival, and it was the last time I was going to get to play him in my career. And for the first 3 years we played him, never lost to him. And then the first game we played in my senior year, we lost. So I was 6-1, and I'll never forget telling myself in my head, I don't care what happens, I'm going to play this last game. And I, I remember I got a ride to the doctor, and they told me I couldn't play. Well, this is the way I twisted it was, well, if you want to play, you can, but I highly don't recommend it. But I took that as, okay, I can play. So they gave me a picture of my x-rays. They gave me pretty much a sheet of paper that says what they said. I took the sheet of paper out and just gave the x-rays to my coach, and they said I could play. So again, I hadn't talked to my mom at this point. So I go through, and about probably to this, like up until probably an hour before game time, my mom thinks I'm not playing. So that was the understanding we had. I sent her this long text, like right before it's time for me to put my phone down and go start stretching and warming up. And like, I'm sorry, I had to play, blah, 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 because she's gonna end up hearing about it. I'll never forget starting that game, actually going out for layup lines about probably 10 minutes before game time, and seeing her in the crowd front row. And she had this look on her face, and I just knew she was about to pull me off the court. But I guess she saw the look in my eyes of fear and wanting to play. And she just kind of nodded and was like, all right, I'm gonna get you after the game, but you better do something. So she sat in that same spot the whole game. And I remember, I'll never forget, I dunked on somebody. And I looked at her, and the entire gym's going crazy. Field from floor to ceiling, the entire gym's going crazy. I just remember I dunked, I fell, and the first person I saw when I looked up was her. Everybody else in the gym was jumping up and down, screaming, smiling, and she's just looking right through me. Like, you better not be hurt. So I got up, and I never ran that back as fast as I did on defense, just to show her that I was fine. But you know, I guess that didn't really have anything behind it. It was just a funny story. But a more serious one was, she was in the hospital at one point at many points throughout my high school time. But man, this woman, I can't remember I'm pretty sure it was a basketball game where she had been in the hospital for probably creeping up on a week. And I know she had come home early that morning, and you know, she would always come home from the hospital and get right back to work. And I remember just when she came home, I just remember thinking, like, you shouldn't have left, because I can tell by the way you look like you're not okay. And so I had that conversation with her before I left for school, and I had a game that night. And she said, well, yeah, I'm probably gonna go back to the hospital, but I wanted to come home. I needed to come home, like, et cetera, like stuff like that, stuff along those lines. And man, I remember it was an away game too. We were probably going about an hour away. And I remember coming off of warm-ups, and that woman's still in her spot, man. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing here? You know, and I look at it now, and it's like, man, if I don't feel good, I don't want to leave the house. And I could just be not feeling good, just may have a headache, or my stomach may feel a little funny, etc. But this woman had kidney problems, like real deal issue, real conditions, throwing up and everywhere, and she would still find a way to come and support her kids, and whether it be supporting by monetarily and going to work, or supporting just being there, whether it be basketball, football, track, whatever the case was. And man, I just remember wanting to, like, damn near in tears and warm-ups, going like, man, she's out there hurting, and I'm out here playing. Like, I kind of twisted in my head to kind of feel bad for myself, but like, well, if she's gonna be here, I'm gonna have to play hard. And I remember having one of my best games, and her driving home. She rode home with my aunt, was the coach of the cheerleaders. I had a great aunt that was the coach of the cheerleaders, and so she rode home with them, so she didn't have to drive. And I rode the bus home, and we met back at the house. And I remember not too long after she got back to the house, she ended up going back to the hospital. And it kind of felt like, you know, I thought at that time, like, oh, she just wanted to let me know she was there. Fast forward a couple more years, man, I was in college. I think it was, yeah, I was in college my freshman year going to my sophomore year. No, I'm sorry, it was my sophomore year going to my junior year. Man, she had a kidney transplant. And man, I was, when she had her first kidney transplant, I was a child. I was young. I didn't remember. I just remember like all of the doctor visits and the issues that came after. She had another one when I was in college. And I remember I was in right outside of Nashville in college, Lebanon, Tennessee. We went, me and her brother, my uncle, who was lived in Nashville at the time. He came and picked me up. We drove from Nashville to Memphis because that's where she was having a transplant. And we get there right as she's leaving. We get there as they're wheeling her out of the room. I get to see her, hug her, kiss her, and pretty much see her off. And that was a big thing for me because I didn't know, I didn't know what was gonna happen. But I remember they wheeled her back in, and this was obviously after hours and hours, but man, seeing the pain that she was in, that kind of, again, opened my eyes to how strong of a woman she was, because even through all that pain, she was still finding a way to, have conversations with us and still she damn near trying to get up and move around and talk to us. I'm like, man, you gotta lay down. Like, you got staples everywhere, like stitches, like, sit down. But, obviously that was a big day for us because she was, that was a big deal. Getting that call to get that transplant was a huge deal. But about a year or two later, I think she had some issues with it. And I remember kind of the same thing happening. My uncle come and get me. We ended up going to Memphis, and I walk in and she has tubes everywhere, etc. And that was the first time I thought like my mom's about to die. So man, I remember staying the weekend. Like, I stayed in the room with her for the weekend, and just kind of catering to her. Like, I had my game with me. They had a TV, so I was playing my game on the TV, and like, I was eating Subway. I was in college. I didn't have no money, so she would take whatever the last she had in her purse and give it to me to go get Subway from the cafeteria or from the food court in the hospital. And still, as she's laying there on what I thought could possibly be her deathbed, still worrying about, oh, well, you go get a $5 footlong from Subway. Man, those moments with her are priceless to me, because it shows the love that she showed me. Even fast forwarding a couple years from there, as an adult, I made some stupid mistakes, ended up in some situations I shouldn't have been in, and she would every time, okay, we're going. How much do we need? And now we're going to get together. She's going to do what she needs to do. And I've seen this woman come up with, I've seen this woman do some crazy things. I'll say that. Nothing illegal, obviously, but like, I've seen this woman come up with a lot in very little amount of time. Just like, and it kind of, she would always tell me, she would get pissed at me whenever I would get myself into situations. But she would always tell me, if you was and I've never killed anybody. I don't plan on killing anybody. But she said, if you were to kill somebody, I'm not the one you call. I'm not the one you call after they lock you up. I'm the one you call when you need to bury the body. And obviously it's a figure of speech, but she's genuinely, the term ride or die gets thrown around a lot, but she's genuinely the most ride or die person I've ever been around. If she loves you and cares for you, she will give you her last. And if she doesn't have it, she's going to find a way to get it. I know, because I've seen her do it. Not just for me, I've seen her do it for my brother. I've seen her do it a million times. I've seen her do it for people that she might not even be close to. She might not even necessarily like, but somebody needs it. I've seen her do it. the amount of growth that I've seen exhibited from this woman over the course of my 25, almost 26 years, man, it's ridiculous. Not just because, not saying she was a horrible woman before, but the way I've seen her mature from a mid-20s to 30s, mid-30s to into her 40s, etc. Like, it's watching her grow has inspired me to, grow even more myself. Not saying that either one of us are perfect, but this woman has shown me, has shown me things in life that I would have never gotten anywhere else. So as a mother, I don't see anybody greater. Obviously, everybody says they have the best mother in the world. When I say that, I truly believe it. Not because my mother was rich, not because she could give me the world, but at least not monetarily, she couldn't give me the world, but she gave me the world in a different sense. She helped open my eyes up to a lot of things. I've seen her, again, look death in the eye and say, all right, you're gonna have to catch me. You're not gonna catch me laying down on this bed or this couch. And you're not gonna catch me at my worst. If you're gonna catch me, you're gonna have to catch me on the move while I'm working. And I know everybody says it, but I've always told myself if I was to ever get $1 million, that's gonna be the first person I take care of. Obviously outside of my wife, but that's the woman that she, I give her the credit for helping me, her and my father, but both of my parents, I give the credit for helping not only get my wife, but sustain being with my wife. Because my wife is a strong woman, so it's not just gonna be a cakewalk being with her. I have to show improvement, and I have to show my worthiness every day. Not saying that my wife is, uppity or anything like that. I'll get more into that in a couple of videos, but I have to. She's just not gonna sit here and allow me to stay stagnant. So, but man, to my mother, my my first love, man, my mom, man, she is she showed me a lot, and I'm kind of getting choked up. But to my mom, Keisha, I love you. You are still one of my heroes, and that'll never change. And I couldn't ask for anybody better as a mother, and I would never even dare. Whenever you see it, just know. Whenever you see this video, know I love you. And damn it, I would. We ride or die together to the end. I would kill over you. I would die for you, and everything in between. So, to Keisha, I love you. To everybody else, thank you for their support. I think we're at 60 subscribers now. Shares, likes, calls, texts, comments, everything, all that stuff. I appreciate all of it. Until next time, next episode is going to be about my dad. But no, until next time, I'm out.
And Shelton with an exclamation point. Yes, sir! That's the ball game with a one-handed dunk.